They just stood in the spot.
It's everybody. Not here.
Oh, is that the one we went right up top of that? Yeah.
I've been nominated to do the honours.
Thank you, Steve.
Because Jeff's too shy.
Go.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and another video. For anybody who's subscribed or been watching my videos for a while, this type of ride used to be a pretty regular feature, but I think this is the second time I've been out with these guys in the last year. So the last time was September actually, so yeah, just about a year. But and that isn't to say I've not been sort of paying attention to what they've been doing, but yeah, the routes have kind of been going the opposite way to home. And also, big part of my plan this year was to kind of drop Sundays, at least on a regular basis, and this is when the Ilkeston Cycle Club, most of their sort of social group rides generally take place. So yeah, anyway, it worked out. It was bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so this footage was recorded on the 25th of August 2024. Some of the usual places, some of the usual rules and rules broken. For example, dropping the ride captain, that happened a few times, but in a little while he kind of brought that upon himself, if I'm honest, because he dropped the wheel, but that's a whole other story. It was toward the end of the ride anyway. But otherwise, in all seriousness, it was a good group, pretty much as always. It's kind of rare actually that you find on this faster inters group that there's any whinging. I'd say the ability was, yes, it was varied, but actually people managed to stay together and kind of be respectful of one another. But as is always the way, when you get into that sort of final 10 miles, it does generally break up a little bit. And that's because, so the ride captain on this particular route, or on this particular group, I should say, is always very smart and looks at the wind direction. So basically it's pretty much designed, and I would say 99 times out of 100 it works out as well, so that you go out into the wind and then come back with it just to ease things up. And typically it does then break up a little bit, and also I guess because people are planning to peel off at sort of different times. So for me this worked out quite well. It basically meant I did the first sort of 35-40 minutes on my own, and then because the route then comes back through where I live, it basically means then that yeah, I've sort of done the last part of the official group on the way out, and yeah, then just sort of peel off. But this was a good workout actually, and I think for me it kind of highlighted some of what I've been missing this year, because I've pretty much trained alone. I obviously did the social ride with Puck Moonen back in, I think that was the middle or the end part of May, but that was very much a social ride and really about sort of keeping people together and making sure that people finish the route. Not to say that isn't the case here with this, but you've just got a sort of stronger ability really, or stronger abilities, and so yeah, there's sort of more of a workout, shall we say. And I've got to be honest, in the first sort of hour and a quarter, I was not feeling particularly good here at all, and yeah, that sort of highlighted even more to me. Sort of I've not done probably the best mix of training this year, simply because I've been so focused on time trialing, whereas ordinarily I would have got out with this group on a more regular basis. So I'm probably going to rethink my plans for next year so that I get this more sort of tempo workout. It's a good opportunity to get some time on the front, do some time into the wind, put out some power for sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it may be, and then yeah, drop to the back, have a bit of a rest, and then inevitably you find yourself back on the front again at some point. And as I say, that last 10 miles is always pretty good, because it's basically opportunity then for people to open the legs up and yeah, give it some. So yeah, I wasn't feeling great in the first hour and a quarter, and I'd not put anything in my bottles. I figured a kind of 2.5-3 hour ride I was probably going to be all right, but considering the longest that I've ridden this year is about 60 something miles, and it was very slow pace, low intensity. Yeah, this was a little bit different. Otherwise, on my own, furthest I've ridden I think was just over 50 miles, and that was at a higher intensity than that 60 was, but yeah, it was pretty much sort of keep the watts at a reasonable level, because I was on my own and therefore not blowing up. So with all that in mind, really sort of the most amount of intensity that I've had this year has been probably about 20 miles. Even when I've taken the TT bike out on a longer route than that, I've only really sort of given it some and gone into threshold and even VO2 level for probably 15-20 miles. So I think I've probably lacked a couple of things this year, and that ultimately explains why my TT results have only been half decent in the last couple of races. But anyway, back to this. So I think there was a group of 7 of us, unless I'm mistaken. I don't actually know all of the guys. Some of them I recognise from sort of past rides, albeit from a few years ago. A couple of the guys, funnily enough, were at the TT last Wednesday. And I should probably say with that, I uploaded the raw footage. So this is from the Colville Wheelers ride. I uploaded the raw footage, then actually started and completed a sort of full commentary video. Went to upload it to YouTube. Thought I had, but actually what I'd done is re-upload the raw footage and then as a consequence deleted the commentary. And I also now don't have the original footage either. What I used to do was kind of save everything to a hard drive, and I just never went back to any of that footage, so it was just taking up space. So I haven't done that this year, and the one time when I really wished I had, I've gone and caught me out. But anyways, there we go. So probably a good time just before I wrap things up. It's sort of the last 3 or 4 minutes now of this video. So probably an update really in terms of Ilkeston Cycle Club. So there probably wasn't the biggest turnout in the marketplace. There was a reasonable number. I think there was 4 rides that went off. And you'll need to skip back to this, but you'll probably catch sight of, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, it's actually what they called the ride, but a vintage ride as well. So there was quite an old bike. I've no idea what it is, but if you skip back to the beginning, when I think it's Steve is sort of standing there with all his loyal subjects around him, basically sort of calling out what rides were planned for the day, you'll see that his bike was actually there propped up against the railings. So that was the first one of those that they'd actually done, vintage ride. I think there were 6 of them. Don't know who designed the route because it was supposed to be flat, but it definitely wasn't. So fair play to those guys. I don't know actually how far they went, but in any case, it was not a flat route. So hopefully that was a success. Certainly from the write-up, it sounds like it was. And they'll do more of them. It's probably just a shame now that it's coming toward the end of the summer period, so it's going to be a bit hit and miss. But I'm sure they'll do more of those in future. And then otherwise, they had the usual short ride that was about 20 miles, I think it was. And then a couple of longer rides, albeit at a slower pace, and then this one. There doesn't seem to be much uptake now for sort of longer rides, longer being probably 70 plus. I guess people just don't really kind of have the time. Or from what I see of the people who are members of the club who I follow, now this can't go without mention. Here's Jeff drafting, but lost the wheel. So, sorry ride captain, but you're on your own fare. So, and I should probably say, I never actually caught those 4 guys either. This is a very fast downhill section, and then afterwards, I'm kind of on my own, and the other guys have gone. What was I saying? So the other people who I actually follow from the club, most of the long rides now that they seem to do, where they're kind of out all day, they tend to be on the Saturday. I guess it's just suits lifestyle better, where people then tend to have Sunday to sort of recover. Although most of them still end up out, probably on mountain bikes or gravel bikes or something like that. But anyway, the point being is, I guess in the main, the sort of mainstays of the club in those sort of, those rides that happen on a Sunday, there's a good variation. They've always done a good job with this. I mean, right from when I first actually went out with the club before I was even a member. Yeah, they always had sort of 3 or 4 different rides that you could jump on. And they share the routes in advance as well, so you can kind of see how hilly it is, at what point you might want to peel off going home or that kind of thing. And it's all run via a ever so slightly clunky, but it does the job, free app as well. So yeah, there we go. In terms of races now, I am planning on doing that 4-point something or other TT in a couple of weeks, and I'll throw something sort of fun together. But otherwise, I'll see whether or not I manage to get out with these guys. One of the other reasons that I stopped going out with them quite so often, as well as, you know, trying to drop the Sundays and trying to do something a little bit more from a TT sort of training perspective, was they pushed the start time back as well to 8:30, and that doesn't kind of always suit me. Those guys there, so Cloud Trail runs underneath that bridge, and so they weren't actually out with us. It just looks like another group that's decided to take a bit of a rest there. This route had to be changed ever so slightly as well. There is a road closure, which is proving to be a bit of a pain in the backside for me. It's about 5 miles from home, so even the TT that I went to the other night, that was a bit of a diversion. And then also paired with the fact, so we were going past Donington Park, and this is traffic queuing to get into, I think it was the British touring cars. I had no idea it was so popular. I mean, it's probably not the worst traffic that you see. Download still wins that one, hands down. But yeah, good to see the track being used. So otherwise, yeah, let's see whether or not I manage to get out with these guys in the next few weeks. Probably when it gets to winter proper. I mean, this is by no means winter at the minute, but it is that time of year now where, you know, sort of race season's done, and I'm starting to look ahead a little bit as to what my off season's going to look like. I do have a winter road bike. I hate it, but I suppose if I'm going to hate it, at least I'm not going to hate it alone. So maybe there's a chance to get out with these guys again. As well, and yeah, put more of this type of thing together as well, because otherwise pretty much it's going to be Trek Checkpoint, of which there's still a lot to talk around that bike, still a lot more riding to do. Plan is to get out on that again at least a couple of times in September, kind of weather and time permitting. Coming into a bit of a busy time with work now, not helped by the fact that I'm actually only at work as well for 3 weeks, because I've got a week's holiday. So we'll see what happens during that week when I'm off. Maybe there'll be something around the checkpoint as well. Anyways, if you have any comments, particularly about the club rather than just me, I should probably say I'm riding a Specialized Roubaix Team Edition, Great British Roads and all of that. But yeah, any questions about the club, please do drop them in the comment section below. Big thumbs up if you like the footage, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Thanks for watching.